Well, now that we've established as far as the origins of the birth of Jerusalem, specifically Jerusalem and Israel, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit here. And I'm going to start going into the characteristics of this great whore and letting, like I said, line upon line, as the prophet says, precept upon precept, and commandment upon commandment, allowing the scriptures to tell us who this whore is, where she's positioned. We're going to read some very interesting characteristics. I have many more than I'm able to go through during this time today, but approximately 74 up to date characteristics specifically speaking of Jerusalem. So let's go ahead and go through some of these characteristics. Number one, she's called a great city. Revelation chapter 11, I'll read verses 1 through 8. And a reed like a measuring rod was given to me. Revelation 11, verse 1. A measuring rod was given to me, and measuring I stood, saying, Rise and measure the dwelling place of Elohim and the altar, and there's those worshiping in it. But leave out the court which is outside the dwelling place. Do not measure it, for it's been given to the Gentiles, and they shall trample the holy city underfoot for 42 months. So we see it says it's the holy city during the time of the Gentiles, or the last 3.5 years, and it's going to be ruled by a beast or a nation. And I shall give unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth and ashes. And these are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands that are standing before the Elohim of all the earth. And if anyone wishes to harm them, fire comes out of their mouth and consumes their enemies. And if anyone wishes to harm them, he has to be killed in the like manner. These possess authority to shut up heaven so that no rain falls in the days of their prophecy. And they possess authority over the waters to turn them to blood and smite the earth with all manner of plagues as often as they wish. And when they have ended their witness, the beast, or this nation that comes out of the pit of the deep, shall fight against them and shall overcome them and kill them. Verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our master was impaled or crucified. What city was that? Can it be any more clear? The great city, which is spiritually, because of her adulteries, as we learned in Ezekiel 16 and 23, because of her adulteries, she is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. But we're specifically saying it's Oholibah, the younger sister. It's Jerusalem, brethren. Revelation 11, 1 through 8, specifically saying where our Master, our Messiah, was crucified. Psalms chapter 48, verse 1. Psalms chapter 48 in verse 1. It says, Great is Yahweh and greatly to be praised in the city of our Elohim, his set apart mountain. Pretty on high, the joy of all the earth is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the great city of the King. Let's go ahead and go to Jeremiah 22, verses 6 through 9. Jeremiah 22, verses 6 through 9. For thus says Yahweh to the house of the king of Judah, You are like Gilead to me, the head of Lebanon. But I shall make you a wilderness and cities which are not inhabited. And I shall prepare destroyers against you, each with his weapons, and they shall cut your choice cedars down and throw them into the fire. And many nations shall pass by this city, and they shall say to one another, Why has Yahweh done so to this great city? Specifically speaking to Jerusalem. How much clearer can we get? Then they shall say, Because they have forsaken the covenant. What covenant? The covenant we just read about in Exodus chapter 19 and 20 through 24, showing the covenant between, or the relationship between the bride Israel slash Jerusalem and the Elohim of heaven and earth, the God of heaven and earth, as they say. And he says, because they have forsaken the covenant, and this is why they are to be destroyed. They are to go into slavery once again in the end of days. They've forsaken the covenant of Yahweh their Elohim and bowed themselves to other mighty ones or other deities, and they have served them. The great city is Jerusalem. You can write down Lamentations 1:1. Lamentations 1:1 also depicts this. We're going to go ahead, because of time, to Revelation chapter 14. Revelation 14, back up a bit. Revelation 14, verse 8. Revelation 14, verse 8 says, and another messenger followed, saying, Babylon, Babylon, that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her whoring. Can that be America? Did America ever go into covenant relationship with Yahweh on Mount Sinai? I dare say so. I say no, because America obviously has been only a nation for about 240 years. Israel, we're talking about 1400, 1500 BC, went into this covenant, and they're going to drink of the wrath of Yahweh, the wrath of Yeshua Messiah when he comes back because of her whorings, because she's forsaken this marital covenant. Revelation 16, verse 19. Revelation 16:19 says, and that great city shall be divided into 3 parts. You know what 3 parts that they're trying to divide? It's the city of Jerusalem, between the Christian, the Muslim, and the Christian, the Muslim, and the Jewish quarters. In fact, there's an interesting song that is on YouTube. This woman sings the song of Jerusalem, and at the very end, as she's standing in this middle on the stage, in the middle of this model of Jerusalem, at the very end, the last second or two, they divide the model into 3, and it opens up, just as I'm saying here. And they divide that great city into 3 parts. The city of the nations shall fall, and great Babylon, this land of confusion, was remembered before Yahweh to give her the cup of the wine of his wrath, or the fierceness of his wrath. Revelation 17, verse 8. The beast, or this nation that you saw that is not, and is about to come up out of the pit of the deep, goes to destruction, and those dwelling on the earth, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. And they shall marvel when they see the beast that was, that is, and is not. And it says, here's the mind having wisdom, the 7 heads, which are 7 mountains in which the woman sits. We're going to go through, I think it's number 5 or 6 on the list of 74 that I have. Shows that Jerusalem sits upon 7 literal mountains. We'll cover that in a little bit. Revelation 18, verse 10 also says, standing at a distance, they're going to see the torture of her burning. Woe, woe to that great city, because in 1 hour comes her judgment. It's speaking about Jerusalem, this book. Again, the covenant, this Middle Eastern book, which was written to the people of Israel, specifically Jerusalem, those who have broken the covenant. Next, I'm going to go, number 2, is that she is a whore. And I think we've pretty much covered that extensively in Ezekiel 16 and 23. But you can write down Proverbs chapter 5. Proverbs chapter 5, you can read it extensively, speaking of a whore. Proverbs chapter 6, verses 20 through 35. Proverbs 7, verses 1 through 26. Hosea. In fact, let's go ahead and go to Hosea chapter 7. Hosea chapter 7, verses 7 through 9. says, all of them are as hot as an oven. They consume their rulers. All their kings have fallen. Not one among them calls on me. Ephraim, the northern house of Israel, or Samaria, as it's called in Ezekiel 23. Ephraim mixes himself among the peoples. Ephraim has become a cake unturned. Strangers have devoured his strength because he does not know it. Gray hairs are also sprinkled on him. He doesn't know it. They don't know what's happening to them. They don't know why. And it's because they've broken this covenant. You can write down Micah chapter 1, verses 1 through 8. Jeremiah 51, verse 49, talks of that great city. Yeshua in Matthew chapter 23 speaks of overlooking Jerusalem as he wept for his bride, for his city. Proverbs chapter 7, verse 27, and a few others. I'm going to go ahead and go to Jeremiah chapter 2. Jeremiah chapter 2, verses 1 through 9. Jeremiah 2, verse 1 through 9. It says, and the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, go and cry in the hearing of Jerusalem, saying, thus says Yahweh, I remember you, the kindnesses of your youth, the kindness of your bridehood, the love of your bridehood, when you went after me in the wilderness, Exodus chapter 20, in the land that was not sown. Israel was holy to Yahweh, the first fruits of his increase. All who ate of it became guilty. Evil has come upon them all, declares Yahweh. Hear the words of Yahweh, O house of Jacob, and the clans or the tribes of the house of Israel. Thus says Yahweh, what unrighteousness have your fathers found in me, that they have gone far from me, and went after worthless things, and they became worthless. And they did not say, where is Yahweh, who brought us out of the land of Egypt, who led us through the wilderness, through the land of deserts and pits, through a land of drought and a shadow of death, a land that no one passed through, and where no one dwelt. Then I brought them into the garden land, to eat its fruit, its goodness. But when you entered, you defiled my land. Like I said earlier, the land of Israel is not Jews. It's not the Jews. It's not the Israelites. It's not anybody's. It's the maker of heaven and earth. It's his land. And they've defiled it. They have made his inheritance an abomination. The priests do not say, where is Yahweh? All those who handle the law or his Torah do not know me. And the shepherds, they have transgressed against me, and the prophets have prophesied by Baal or Baal, and they've walked after things that do not profit. Therefore I shall contend with you, declares Yahweh, and your children's children I contend. We can read in Jeremiah chapter 2, continuing in verses 20 through 33, how he talks about them being a choice vine, and they turned into a degenerate plant. Verse 21, he speaks of thieves that are ashamed when he's found out. So is the house of Israel ashamed, they and their kings and their heads and their priests and their prophets, saying to a tree, you are my father. Saying to a tree that they're their father, and to a stone, you gave birth to me? For they have turned their back to me and not their face. But in the time of their calamity, they will arise and say, save us. They're going to say to Yahweh in the time of their calamity, please save us. They're going to repent then, but they're not repenting now. Not until calamity comes will the house of Israel and the house of Judah repent. And I'm saying to you now, brethren, it's time to repent. But where are your mighty ones that you've made for yourselves? Where are your idols? Call out to them, as Proverbs 1 says. Maybe they'll save you. Let them arise and see if they will save you in the time of your calamity, because your deities have become as many as your cities, O Judah. Very clear. She is a whore. Why do you complain to me? Verse 29 of Jeremiah 2. Why do you complain to me? You have